The latest apocalyptic blockbuster film, starring Cage and 024, is about to hit the world of paradise. In the not-too-distant future, human destruction of the environment leads to the emergence of a mutated organism that destroys the world. So this terrifying monster only operates at night, so Lego and his two sons can hide in a remote farmhouse and the dog can survive. But that night, they found that the dog was starting to dig the ground incessantly, becoming restless. A few people immediately became alert upon seeing the situation, and their eldest son Away hurriedly went downstairs with a lamp to check the situation, but did not find anything unusual outside the door. But the next second, Rigo, who was following him, quickly stepped forward and pressed against the door. The panicked Avi reacted and quickly helped, and the two of them worked together to barely resist the opponent's crazy attack. After failing to break through the door for a long time, the roar outside finally gradually subsided. Rigo, who confirmed safety through his cat's eye, breathed a sigh of relief. At such a critical moment, his youngest son Ajay never went to help. As a wise man, he was using this to analyze the monster's movement patterns. Ajay discovered that the monster conducted a total of 3 waves of attacks, which were 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and 1 second, respectively. He speculated that the first wave was only the tense of the monster's resistance to the door, the second wave was the actual attack made to break through the door, and the last wave was the anger emitted by the opponent after being blocked. And if it really is as Ajay speculates, the situation will be very frightening, because it indicates that the monster is slowly beginning to have thinking. Upon seeing the dilapidated gate that was destroyed last night, Rigo decided to reinforce the doors and windows of the house again. But today there wasn't enough storage at home, so he had to let his two sons go out to search for supplies. However, Away hurriedly left, preparing to let Ajay search alone. Rigo quickly stopped him and asked him to take action with his younger brother. He is very uneasy about two people who cannot take good care of themselves in the apocalypse. But what he didn't know was that Away left his younger brother halfway and ran to play again, promising to go back with him again before the sun set. There's no way Ajay can only go alone to search for supplies, while Away's destination for playing is another large farm where humans gather nearby. He didn't help his own family, but instead came here to work for others because he had feelings for Anna, the daughter of the farmer. Away secretly tore up with him every day under the guise of helping, while his troubled younger brother could only search in various dark corners like a mouse at this moment. By the time he collected the materials, the sun was almost setting, but as he was about to leave, he found that the car couldn't catch fire. By the time it was repaired, the sun had already set for half. He quickly drove to the agreed location to pick up his brother. On the other hand, Away, who was in the gentle countryside, was not at all anxious. The young couple unconsciously forgot the time in their entanglement. When they realized that the sun had started to set. He felt that his younger brother must not be able to wait to return first, so he decided not to go to the agreed place to meet, but to run alone towards home. But he didn't know that Ajay, who had just arrived late, had just arrived. Without seeing anyone, he thought his brother had already returned home and decided not to wait anymore. He quickly drove away, and this unfortunate mistake will bring catastrophic consequences to several people. Away slipped under his feet while running and fell into a crack, causing him to faint. Only when Ajay saw his anxious father did he realize that his brother had not returned yet. He dared not hide anything and quickly told the whole story in detail. Rigo immediately realized that his son had had an accident. He quickly asked Ajay to lock the door at home alone, while he quickly went out and found Away before it was completely dark. No matter how much Rigo follows the road, he can't find it. At this moment, Away finally woke up slowly from his coma. Looking at the weather around him, he suddenly felt uneasy. However, the towering ground above made his heart sink to the bottom of the valley. Away could only use flint to find other ways out in the darkness. After an unknown amount of time, he finally felt a gap in the wall, but the next second, Away was scared and fell to the ground, only to find that the monster had not attacked him. He quickly and quietly took out a small knife, then fiercely stabbed the protruding palm and quickly stepped back to observe the situation, but the other party suddenly jumped out of the small hole behind him and caught him. At the moment of crisis, upon hearing the commotion, Lego finally struck and slashed the monster with force. He then crawled into the cave through the crack and joined his restless son. It's not safe to return home at this moment, why not block the gap and hide here until dawn? But there was more than one son who was not at ease. Seeing his father still hadn't returned at this moment, Ajay, who was so tired, casually closed the cat's eye and prepared to sleep, but forgot to lock it. Quickly, there was a commotion outside the door. In no time, the wooden board was inexplicably pushed away from the outside, and then a super long arm came in from a small hole. That arm is completely extended, almost 2 meters wide. Not only that, but the monster's fingers also slowly extended and began to thrust towards Ajay, while he, who was asleep, was unaware of it. Even so, the monster person could not reach it, but the other party did not give up. Instead, they opened the door bolt and walked into the room. The next second, Ajay, who finally had the chance, immediately pulled the mechanism and the monster was instantly locked in an iron cage. It turned out that everything was just a trap set by him. Ajay wanted to use his own will to capture monsters for research. He knew that his father would definitely not agree that the other person was not at home, so he finally waited for a divine opportunity. Little did they know that Lige and his companions were in big trouble at this moment. Even after sealing the gap, they still felt the roar getting closer and closer. Listening carefully, I realized that the sound was coming from underground. The next second, the ground inside the cave will collapse into a large valley. At this moment, Lego finally understood why the dog had the will to dig the ground. He quickly lit the explosives and wanted to collapse the cave, but the monster suddenly grabbed an arm. The next second, Ajay, who woke up in shock, quickly pulled open the wooden board and found that it was already daylight outside. The two of them had not returned all night, which made him feel uneasy. He quickly drove out to search for them. Soon, he saw Awe, who was dragging his father, explode at close range, causing serious injuries to Rigo. Ajay quickly carried him home upon seeing the situation, but even after dressing the wound, the other person remained unconscious. Awe realized that Jingping's actions could not save his father, so he had to seek help from the farm of the Yanai family. At this moment, he saw the monster that his younger brother had caught last night, and in terror, Awe immediately wanted to kill it. Ajay quickly stepped forward to stop the situation, but the other party was entangled and accidentally opened the iron cage. So Wei Guang's monster did not attack, but quickly crawled into the bed. The two quickly picked up their weapons and aimed them, but dared not approach. However, the dog who was eager to protect the owner ran over directly. The monster that felt threatened immediately rushed out, but his speed and strength were greatly weakened during the day, and he was directly stepped on by Ajay from behind and plunged into the floor with one go. Upon seeing this, Awe immediately swung his axe and completely killed him, but it also put an end to Ajay's plan to study. The top priority offline is to seek rescue and treatment for his father. They hurriedly pulled Rigo towards Anna's farm, but when the others saw the situation, they immediately closed the door and did not allow the three of them to enter. Their supplies were also very tight, and they did not accept any extra food from anyone. Medicine was also the most important supply in the apocalypse, and could not be provided to the few people who had no contribution to the farm. But the woman knew that Awe and her daughter were in love and often came here to help, so she decided to let Awe stay until he recovered. "That'll leave more supplies back your phone to you." After hearing this, Father Ajay angrily turned around and left. Awe felt embarrassed to stay alone when he saw this, but his younger brother mocked him and said, "You can stay." He said that Yongwan scolded the other party for never taking on family responsibilities, which is why Father is in this situation now. After hearing this, Awe couldn't help but fight with the ox rider and immediately entered Anna's house without looking back. But this was just a delaying tactic. He decided to lurk and find the medicine to treat his father again. The strange behavior that could be searched for everywhere was stumbled upon by Anna, and Awe could only tell the truth truthfully. Anna, who couldn't bear it, finally took the initiative to give it to the other party, but when she was planning to secretly leave, she was discovered by someone. The people here treat Awe as a thief and decide to break his leg as punishment. The next second, the man was shooting and was instantly pulled into a large hole that suddenly appeared behind him. The farmer who heard the commotion suddenly woke up, but just as he was about to go out and check the situation, when Anna, who heard the sound, opened the door and looked around, only a prominent bloodstain remained in the hallway. At this moment, the people in the warehouse were also dragged into the hole one after another. Awixia's desperate struggle was due to being protected and unable to move, so she kept hitting the wooden board with her knees and finally broke it. The monster that could lift her head appeared in front of her face. At the moment of crisis, Anna killed the monster that kept shooting, and then the two quickly escaped from this terrifying place. On the other side, Ajay heard bursts of noise coming from outside the door and quietly walked over to check the situation. The next second, it turned out that Awe and the other two ran back. Seeing this, the younger brother quickly put them into the room and quickly fed the medicine to Legu. But Ajay understood that after the monster evolved, this place was no longer safe, but his father's body forced several people to guard Jingya. They dismantled all the wooden boards inside the house, poured a lot of gasoline on them, and finally tied the burning cigarettes to the explosives. But the few people in action were unaware that at this moment, a monster had quietly crawled in from the cigarette barrel in Rigo's room, and the roar outside the door was gradually approaching. The three of them quickly lifted the refrigerator and prepared for the last moment. At this moment, Rigo, whose face was covered in blood, finally walked out of the room. Without saying a word, he picked up Anna's spray and fired 2 shots at the floor, killing a monster that was about to jump out. But at this moment, more monsters had crowded in and out, and Sua Xing's burned cigarette had already set the fuse on. However, Ajay, who was about to call his father, found that the door was locked. Lei Gu, who had just learned his destiny, decided to fight to the death to protect his son's safety. The few of them could only endure the pain and crawl into the refrigerator to hide. In no time, a violent explosion submerged everything, and only the 3 people hiding in the refrigerator barely survived. The 2 brothers frantically searched for their father in the ruins, but the next second, a burning giant hand came out. Under such firepower, the monster still hasn't died completely. Several people hurriedly drove away from here, but did not see the monsters folding up Arhat at this time. Soon, the fire circle composed of monsters quickly caught up. Anna quickly fought hard with a shot to scatter it, and finally narrowly escaped the monster's pursuit. The homes of several people were completely destroyed under the attack, and they could only continue to advance towards their positions in despair and anxiety.